It was a calm August morning in the remote highlands of Khistan, a rugged region tucked away in the mountains of northern Pakistan. Here, jagged peaks pierce the sky, and ancient glaciers have guarded their secrets for centuries. The summer sun had begun its slow work, melting the heavy snow that had smothered the land for decades. As the ice pulled back, it revealed something no one had seen in nearly 30 years. In the icy silence of the Palace Valley Glacier, a local herder caught sight of something unusual, a faint glint, something that didn't belong among the snow and stone. It wasn't the sparkle of a rock or the shimmer of ice. This was different. As the man approached, the shape came into focus, the unmistakable outline of a human form. But this was no ordinary discovery. Lying beside the body were the skeletal remains of a horse, fragments of fabric stiffened by frost, weather-worn leather straps, and an old, faded national identity card. What they had stumbled upon was not just a body. It was a final trace of a man who had vanished without a single clue nearly 3 decades earlier. Back in 1997, Khistan had been struck by one of the harshest winters in living memory. Snowstorms battered the upper coldest valleys with relentless fury, cutting off entire communities. Roads vanished beneath towering drifts. The cold wasn't just punishing, it was deadly. During that unforgiving season, a man named Nazdan left his village on horseback. He was heading for the high pastures, seeking medicinal herbs and new grazing grounds. Everyone knew him as a man of the mountains, quiet, resilient, and deeply familiar with the terrain. But this time he didn't return. At first, there was hope. Search parties scoured the valleys, calling his name into the howling wind. Neighbors searched every possible trail. Families prayed. Days turned to weeks. Weeks turned to months. And with no sign of him or his horse, the hope began to fade. Eventually, Nazdan's disappearance became a sad story whispered over evening fires, a tale the mountain seemed to have swallowed whole. But all along, the glacier had been keeping a secret. For nearly 30 years, his body had been locked away in a frozen tomb, shielded from time and decay. And now, as the ice loosened its grip, it finally gave him back. Word of the discovery spread quickly through the valleys. Elders and surviving family members made the long journey to the glacier. When they arrived, they saw the familiar signs: a worn woolen jacket, a belt decorated with carved wooden beads, and the faded ID card that confirmed what they already knew in their hearts. Despite the years, his features were still recognizable. The cold had preserved him so well that it seemed as though he were only asleep, resting in the arms of the mountain he had once roamed so freely. The villagers brought him down with great care. They wrapped his body in fresh white cloth and laid him on a simple wooden stretcher. Then they began the slow, solemn trek down the rocky trails toward his home. The journey was long and quiet, broken only by the creak of wood, the crunch of footsteps on gravel, and the distant cry of hawks circling high above. By the time they reached the village, dozens of people had gathered. Some had tears in their eyes. Others stood silently, watching the return of a man they thought they'd never see again. Mothers brought their children to witness it, a reminder that the mountains can give, but they can also take without warning. His funeral was held that very evening. The elders recited prayers while the entire community gathered to pay their respects. For many, this was more than a burial. It was the end of a mystery that had haunted the valley for nearly 3 decades. For his family, it was the moment they could finally grieve with a grave, to have a place where prayers could be offered for the soul they had lost. The burial was simple, following tradition, but it carried the heavy weight of all those years of uncertainty. His return had reopened old wounds, but it had also brought something rare: closure. News of the discovery soon spread beyond the valley. Scientists and journalists arrived to study the case. Experts explained that the extreme sub-zero temperatures of the glacier had preserved his body almost perfectly, halting the natural process of decay. It was, they said, an extraordinary example of nature's preservation, but not entirely unique. Similar discoveries have been made before. In the Alps, the Andes, and now the highlands of Khistan, melting glaciers have revealed bodies that disappeared decades, even centuries ago. Some were climbers, some were herders. All had been frozen in time until the ice chose to let them go. To some, Nazdan's reappearance was a call to better preserve local histories, to document the lives of those who venture into these unforgiving landscapes. To others, it was yet another sign of climate change, proof that the glaciers were retreating faster than ever, exposing what had long been buried beneath layers of ice. For the villagers, though, it was simpler than that. The mountain had finally returned what it had taken. And while the glacier's secret had been held for nearly 30 years, it was no longer a mystery. Nazdan had come home. As glaciers recede, Who knows how many more lost souls will return from the ice? If this story moved you, leave your thoughts below, subscribe for more true mysteries, and join us as we uncover the past one story at a time.